Hi there, I'm here with DJ Soucy, Leah Herzwurm, and Jason Wetherington, having a discussion about social media marketing and truly understanding the new age of business. No longer can you hide behind still photos. This really is an age of video, social media, and really telling your story. So I'd love for us to kick that off and really understanding, why do you think that marketing has to be the thing that starts everything else? Before we even get to do any sale or do our business, we constantly have to focus on selling ourselves and our brand.
It's funny because I'm instantly reminded of when I started in real estate, and my first for sale signs literally didn't even have my face on it or picture. I was just so like, no, I don't want to be out there. And you said something like, oh, you want to be a secret agent? And I'm like, no. And you pushed me. I finally got there. And the part about video, I was really against it. Nobody, correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't met anybody who thinks they sound and look amazing on video. Most people, right? I'm in that category. But I finally got over it. You were pushing me to do even just like a little blurb video before an open house. And there was one day where I was doing it with my phone, and a million things kept happening as I was trying to do it. A plane flew really low, a Harley went by really loud, a bug flew up my nose, and I kept tripping over words, and I posted that, and it was the most reacted to and commented thing I had ever posted, and I think that helped me like get over myself, and it just kind of clicked, like, people like authentic. At least that was my take on it. And so more directly, I think, to your question is, would you rather work with somebody that you kind of like have a little glimpse into who they are, what's important to them, like a little connection? Do you know them a little bit? I think that's why it's super important.
Yeah, 100%. People work with people that they like and trust, and it's like when you show up, I think, that's really, really important. They feel like they already know you, there's only, that's not cutting it anymore. Stop doing that.
So what is your, what's your policy? Like, what do you think about when you're about to do pieces of telling your story?
I just do it. I just roll with it now. It took me a little bit to get there, but again, like DJ said, being authentic, you mess up, I think people have really resonated with kind of behind the scenes and stories and what does a day look like in the life of an agent.
And you're so good at that. You nail that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Well, and what you do so well is showing the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, no, not ugly, not that you're ugly, but you know what I'm saying.
Of the business.
Honey, a lot of ugly.
Of the business, the ugliness of the business.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to post their just solds and just under contracts,
right.
But we don't go back and post, oh, this one fell out and this one didn't get financed.
Totally.
I mean,
But I think that's important too, because I think that helps set a little bit of, or temper down the expectation, right? Because we have every realtor's friend, HGTV, who makes it seem like you're going to show somebody 3 houses, they're going to pick one and fall in love, and it's going to be perfect, right? And it's end of story.
Right.
Like, or there's one dramatic moment in the process, and then it's over.
But it makes it look effortless and very
Right.
glamorous, or, the $1 million listings and the selling sunsets and all of that. And it's like, that is so far from reality. So far from reality. So I think people like, getting a glimpse in behind the scenes, and again, figuring out who you are as a person, and who they want to work with, because Lord knows they got a lot of options in Tampa Bay.
Well, and I think what's important, we might talk about, HGTV or selling sun, those things still have a space though. And I mean,
I love them.
Here we are in a production studio, right? Of which I think a lot of business owners would think that somehow this is too much or unnecessary. But when we're talking about branding, and all of us have these conversations, I do think that it's important to go, what part of this is ego and what part of this is like, I'm doing this to be able to share a story that unless you were a client of mine, you wouldn't know this. And so I have to get that out there. So how do you balance that, like, oh, this feels like it's always about me or it's ego, to I have to do this because this is the future of how people are communicating?
I'll just say that when I first got started, I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together for a marketing budget. And so anything and everything I did came from my sphere directly from Facebook and social media. And what I quickly found is that people were excited for me to find the success in the new business venture. And then they were cheering me on and encouraging me and all of that. And so instead of it starting from a place of ego, so to speak, it started from a place of necessity. And your ego gets checked very quick when you're out there and you have those vulnerable moments, or you have the exciting moment of announcement of a new listing, but then you're not necessarily always sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right. And it sort of,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think it's also important, and I think, again, we all do a really good job of this as well, of, telling the story not just about us, right? It's about our client.
100%.
That's a lot of times, of course, if they're comfortable and they're willing. I love telling their story, and it's kind of realtors' own faults, right? That a lot of times, and everybody's guilty of it sometimes, like posting like, wow, there was like 15 offers, and even before this crazy market, but like this cash offer and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's what we promote, and people see that. What they don't see is, wow, I just got this VA buyer under contract, which is like a miracle in this market. We don't always, I don't find most people are posting the real reality of it. So I've gone on some, listing appointments or worked with some buyers and well, going back to listing, where they're like, oh, well, here's a few offers, and they're like, I can't believe none of them are cash. Well, I can't believe like they're only $10,000 over, and I'm like, that's not real. I can't remember the most recent percentage. I think it's somewhere around, and this is really high, and this is only for recently, but I think when I started, the majority of cash sales in Pinellas County were around 8% of all sales on average for the year. And I believe so far this year it's something like 23%, which again is big, but Vegas odds, baby, I wouldn't say 23%, hoping, right.
Yeah. Well, people don't know what they don't know, right? And this is our full-time jobs, this is our everyday. And so I think coming from a place of education and, really explaining, I think, we're so used to the lingo of, pending and blah, 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 all the things, all the inspection terms. But your average person doesn't know that, even if they have bought homes before. The market has changed a ton. And so I think, it's important to really educate people on what this means and what's going on, and be that resource, making sure they don't get taken advantage, by someone who does this as a part-time gig, explaining why it's important to work with a professional who is full-time versus part-time, really just coming from, an educational place. Yeah. To try and protect your friends.
I talk often about managing expectations. You're managing the expectations of the customer you're working with. And that's also important for me to remember, though, that like you just said, they don't do this every day. Right. The people we work with, they're not buying and selling homes every day. They may not know what an estoppel letter is. They may not understand what an appraisal gap contingency is.
Right.
And so explaining these things and setting the expectations from the beginning really helps to make all the difference.
Well, and I think, that's a whole different category, right? As an agent, you would think knowing what an estoppel letter is, knowing what an escalation clause, knowing your contracts, knowing how to do listing appointments, you'd think that would be the scope of the business. But now we're talking about you need to understand cinematography, and you need to understand how to write copy, and you need to understand short form and long form video. I mean, how are you staying ahead of the curve when it comes to embracing this into your business?
Well, the first time you ever used the term B-roll, I thought you went to a new sushi place. I was like, wait, we're talking about work. Why are we talking about food? But seriously, exactly to your point, in this industry, in this business, you have to continue to grow and evolve if you want to keep up with business, right? So, I mean, for myself, and I really do enjoy pushing the limits with myself, and pride myself on kind of like not turning out the same thing all the time. So, I've worked with different videographers. I literally start my day pretty much Monday through Friday because I text them to you, and I was
4:30
like,
in the morning. There's a video from DJ.
I was like, hey, I just saw this agent. I've shared it with you. I was like, I just started following like Brad McCallum. I love the way he does his listing videos.
Brad, free shout out.
Free shout out, Brad. Come visit us. He's up in Canada, but just the way he does it, it's outside the box. It's engaging. It's telling a story. He's literally selling you the house as he's walking through it. And so I start my day like kind of like with my real estate crushes, like Taya DeCarlo. She's also the bomb. Love her. But on top of that, working with different videographers to see how they work and how they shoot things, and also working with a production company as of recently. So
yeah. What about for you? What are you doing to stay inspired? I mean, you have a background of marketing. That was something that you did before real estate.
Yeah.
But I mean, how are you making sure that the things you're doing are fresh and they're telling the brand story and that you can kind of see that throughout? I mean, what's keeping the inspiration?
I think just trying to think outside the box and leverage, I don't know all the ins and outs of, being a videographer. So I think that's where you really have to invest in your business and hire a professional and, figure out what the best use of your time is, so I'm not spending hours editing, I'm leveraging that out. It's like I have the content and the knowledge and stuff and someone else can make it look good. But yeah, I just thinking outside the box, testing different stuff, seeing what works better. I found like kind of the short and sweet stuff tends to be best. We have a very short attention span, I think, as a whole. So yeah, just kind of playing around with it, asking your audience, what they want to see more of, doing polls in the story. Your Instagram dashboard will tell you a lot, what posts got the most views or comments, and you're able to kind of see what people are resonating with, and then, take that to then create your next content.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people that would love to have the same results that you all are having, of having what would be random strangers at times that either send you a DM or they call you and go, oh, I've been following you for years and I love all your stuff and we're ready to sell our house. And you're like, who are you?
Yeah.
And so, I think for people to understand that that doesn't happen by accident. The amount of hours that all of you put into thinking about how the brand is going to be publicly facing, I think is really what I'd love for a lot of people to know. Whether you are a restaurant or you're a real estate agent or you own a spa, the old idea that if I just had a good product, that in and of itself is going to yield business is so not the case, because there are shittier companies that have really great marketing that are going to steal people away from you. And so we have to go, if you're going to be good in business, you have to be equally as good as a marketer, which means you have to learn that skill set. I mean, where are you seeing the business is different today than when you started in terms of how you have to communicate with people?
I think it's just continuing to stay top of mind. And like they said, continuing to push the envelope. And, there have been times when I've messaged both Leah and DJ to say, hey, I love this idea. Can I borrow it and implement it in my own way? Whether it be through video or social media or polls or giveaways or whatever. And so it's continuing.
How much do you charge him for that? When you let him?
And so, there's that aspect. But then also I think just being authentic and vulnerable and all those things on, which I am not. Like I like a controlled studio with good proper lighting and good camera angles and all that and the right filters. But, getting on, I mean, you are like, both of you like have been, especially just watching you and your adaptability and just sharing your, and it's not all business. It's the floors were destroyed by the production company or whatever the case may be. I don't know if you posted that yet, but but anyway, or George or whatever is going on with Damien, and it's finding that mix, because I find that, for me, sometimes it's just like just sold, just listed, or a testimonial. And it's so easy to get caught in the monotony of, oh, here's a 5-star review Friday or whatever, versus here's a beautiful candlelit dinner at a restaurant that's, go check it out or whatever. Like, and so it's trying to remember to do that. And then going back to your point about like mixing up the videos, like I was so with the listing videos, I got into this routine of doing, "Hi, I'm Jason Wetherington with ABC Realty at my new listing at blah 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 blah."
Right.
You know, and I watch.
It's like you're like, oh my God, they're watching me on my social media. They know who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why am I introducing myself?
And then, you know, the guy the video producer that I work with, he said, "Well, why don't you get in a jacuzzi this time?" And so, like, I brought a Hawaiian shirt in LA and like a pineapple drink, and he got some B-roll of me sort of chilling in the jacuzzi. It was 100 degrees outside, but it worked because that video got more engagement than all of my stuffy, like, here I am in my gingham shirt standing outside my new listing, come and buy it.
People want to be entertained.
They do. And like, you know, I had somebody just this week ask me to send them that video. Why? I have no clue, but it's just.
And to Leah's point too about attention spans being so short, the way I'm looking at it and I see it is to do something, and that's like, if you know, you mentioned it earlier about one of my last videos, to do something right in the beginning. Like if you don't catch their attention, I can't remember what the stat was, but I think it's like in
First few seconds.
Yeah, I think it's
Honestly.
3 or 5 seconds. Because it's just like scroll on by.
Well, or you see so many videos that they take the first 30 seconds are all aerial and drone photos or video of a property that, you know, you buy the house, you live in the house. You don't live 100 feet in the sky looking at it, you know? And it takes forever to get inside, and then you realize why.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, the thing with this industry specifically, right, you have the optics of also feeding the perspective of the seller, right? Like the ego of the seller sometimes really wants that video. They want their house to be pretty. And that is absolutely a component. We want you to feel like the lifestyle of the rich and famous, right? Or MTV Cribs.
I've had people bring that up. They're like, when are you going to do the video? Like, when do you do that? And like super excited about it.
Video works. I mean, it really does. I feel like it boosts your views. I'm a firm believer when you're talking about, you know, you can have the best product in the world, but someone may beat you out because of their marketing. I always stress to my sellers, look, I'm a firm believer you can have the same product and market it 2 different ways, and you're gonna have 2 different outcomes. And so, you know, I definitely think really going all in on the marketing aspect of it. I need to get a little more creative. I love that you've been more creative recently. I'm kind of in the same boat of like, you get in your routine and it's a great outcome, but it's kind of like, hi, it's Leah Herzwurm with blah, blah, blah. And I do think it's good of like repetition in a way, but also, you know, throwing some creativity in.
Yeah. Well,
because consistency is key, right? With anything.
Or throw a grenade in.
Yeah.
DJ has the grenades, you're in the hot tub. I think we've had people in our world that have done jet ski intros and things. And we did have that conversation, which is there is this balance of, you know, out of one side of my mouth, I'm talking about authenticity. And then there's another side that is like the showman that's going to go above and beyond. And I do think that there's a balance of both. You had talked about what we refer to as the principle of thirds, right? Of that idea of not just doing real estate, but that 1/3, I'm that local influencer. I know about the new restaurant. I know about what's happening this weekend. I know about the groundbreaking of the new condo. Then sure, there's my lights are on the brick and mortar. And then there's also who is the person that connects. I remember you and I had a conversation after, do y'all remember at the beginning of COVID, Stanley Tucci made like a Negroni like cocktail and it got millions of views. And I turned to him and I was like, I want you to go on Facebook Live and I want you, like, you've been in the restaurant industry, I want you to cook or I want you to make a cocktail, something. And you...
I think I was making something and I sent it to you.
Yeah.
And
you
you
was
like,
why am I the only person who's seeing this?
No, I love your cooking
Yeah,
videos. I'm like,
well, again, it was so funny
because
because
I burn stuff in a crock pot, so.
but I mean, there was so much engagement to that, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, oh, okay. And it was like lifting that veil a little bit and letting people like see me a little bit more, the authentic, like, so, because again, people will work with who they feel like they know and trust and can relate to.
Well, and going back to what you said earlier about people coming up to you that you've never even met before, I mean, I did a client appreciation event at a Dairy Queen of all places. It was Fido Friends and Family.
Oh my gosh, I would kill for
We
Blizzard.
gave, and that's exactly what we did.
Can we get her a Blizzard?
Everyone you got your choice of a free cone or a free Blizzard and then free pup cups for the dogs, and had a great turnout, and it was wonderful. But what was freaky almost is I had people coming who had no clue who they were. They found the event through a Facebook ad. Thank you. A boosted post is what I was going to say. A boosted post on Facebook. But what was even scarier than that is that they knew and said that they had been following my dog, Lexi. So they knew my golden retriever, but I had no clue who these people were showing up to my event eating my free ice cream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
And it was like, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
I mean, how many people know Graham before he's even entered the world?
Exactly.
I mean,
well,
he's here.
people know Bo, my blind dog. I remember being at Trader
Bobo.
Joe's in St. Pete, and blind dog is obsessed with the pool, and he's a sensation. He's an internet sensation. Whenever I post a photo of him staring at the door, swimming, people go nuts over Bo. And I met a stranger in Trader Joe's, and she's like, "Are you a realtor?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I follow you on Instagram. I love Bo." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so it's great."
Can you write him off now, or does that count? Can we write him off?
So.
I hope I can write him off.
I mean,
he's blind and diabetic and
Yes.
gets insulin twice a day. He's expensive.
Between
So I
Bo,
gotta sell
George,
some
and
more
Lexi,
houses.
we've got a good little write-off right now.
Well, I think, this is truly, when you're talking about breaking down some of those barriers, the still photos don't do it anymore, right? The JCPenney headshot just doesn't do it anymore. It's not showing people. I mean, how many people have done business with you because of church or Georgia Bulldogs or, Pet Pal? I mean, so much of the other parts of your life are bringing people in. And that influencer aspect, we joke about it. We can talk about it all day long of, be more like Kim Kardashian in certain ways, right? But understanding, like, if I'm looking at myself as a brand, and a lot of real estate agents don't think that that's the case, but it's 100% the case. And I don't care who you are. If you are, Gary Vaynerchuk or you're whatever, you see so many people that started to go, well, wait a minute. If I can be entertaining, if I can have people pulled in on the day-to-day when they don't need real estate service or whatever my business is, then by the time that they do, they are so loyal and locked in to this relationship that they're making that choice. This is the same thing that Coca-Cola's been doing by being in movies. This is the same thing we've seen in subliminal marketing for decades. But we're doing it in such a way that's being captivating. So I'm curious as to that filter of making sure that you're present, but also like, oh, I've got to take a picture here, or I've got to do a quick video at dinner, but then I can do the rest of it. Where is that showing up for you?
Well, that's one of the cool things about it, right? Is what I feared when I first started and a lot of people will go through this if they're honest about it, like, I'll look stupid or people won't like me or blah, 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 blah. It has been such a positive thing for me, and I make everyone on my team do a video every week, whether they like it or not, because number one, that's how you get better at something, right? You keep doing it. But, the concern of like, well, I need to present myself this way or that way. I'm like, no, you don't. The biggest thing I want you to do is be you. And that was such a freeing, liberating thing for myself, because how are my people going to find me if I'm not being me, right? So, there's plenty of business out there for everybody, and somebody who may love working with me may not like working with you. One of your clients who loves you may not enjoy working with me, because we're all different people, right? Leah and I talk and collaborate on stuff all the time. Jason doesn't call us as much anymore because he moved. But, even when we talk about like doing similar things, I could never be Leah or Jason and vice versa. But the really cool thing is your people find you, and if somebody doesn't click with you, if it doesn't register, like, cool, no hard feelings, like, take care. But right, it kind of filters.
It totally does, and that's exactly where I was going with that. It's being authentic and finding your own voice, because I can't be Leah, I can't be DJ, I can't be Michael, and
I've seen you be Liza though.
Promise not to bring that up. No, but finding your own voice and being yourself, and that's one of the hardest things that I've struggled with, is just because, like you said earlier, who likes the sound of their voice on on camera? I hate it. But you wouldn't believe it. But anyway,
Doesn't stop you.
It's just getting comfortable. It doesn't stop me. But anyway.
Well, looking at the future of the industry, I think is going to be one of the great things for us to leave this discussion on. So looking at, we're on the precipice of really seeing what the metaverse becomes. We are seeing a lot of things of, we already knew Google had told us that more than 80% of what people were going to consume is going to be in video format. We've seen that through TikTok. We've seen that through Reels and Stories and even with YouTube. So where do you see the future going in terms of how you're going to have to still stay ahead of everybody else?
I mean, staying on video, obviously, staying at the forefront of people's minds. I feel like, the millennials are that's going to be our biggest purchasing,
But I
sphere,
also,
recent,
yeah, it's
upcoming.
super important though. It's the best, in my opinion, it's the best vehicle besides a face-to-face meeting to show our value, right? We can demonstrate it through what we're doing on a daily basis on our stories, through our client testimonials.
You hit on this a lot about the perpetuity, right? The value, and I'd love for you to speak on that a little bit.
It's the lead gen that never stops giving, right? So I am gone so all in on creating more content and having long form that is going to live in perpetuity on YouTube, because people go back and they look at that, and even though I'm putting out new stuff and it's a listing video and that listing is already sold, they're going back then and looking and trying to find out more. Well, that's the lead gen. I can be on vacation, I can be asleep, and it's still working for me. So, and not to make it sound like, oh, there's no work involved, like we all know because we all do it. Doing this is a lot of work. I always find it like a huge compliment when somebody's just like, oh my God, you're like such a natural, and I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, are you drunk? Like, oh, you just make it look so effortless. I'm like, ugh.
I think it's leverage, and it's like you said, doubling down on the video. I mean, that's what I'm working on right now with Shantae, and it's lining up not just the the new listing videos and all of that, but the testimonials and some of those other content-driven materials that, like you said, can live in perpetuity, whether it's on YouTube or whatever, and just continuing to drive traffic to those places. And being very intentional about it. And being intentional means spending money, but committing to the investment that and knowing that it'll pay off long term.
So we're going to pull a Lawrence O'Donnell, and we're going to do final words from each of you, just on general in terms of social media. There are people who are watching this, and more likely than not, the people who are watching this are going to be business owners, are going to be real estate agents that maybe know that the value of video and social media is important, but it hasn't been a habit yet. What's your final thoughts or words of encouragement to those people?
I think you have to do it, and just jump in. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to have thousands of likes on your posts. The first week you do it, it takes years to build a following, but it's that consistency. And I really kind of think of your profile and things that stay on your social media feed. That's your resume. Yes, stories are important, and but those go away in 24 hours. It's important to show up, I think, every day. I don't ever want to click on my face and there not be a story. You need to be active every day, but be purposeful in what you post that's going to live forever, because when someone goes to your profile and is scrolling through your feed, that really is your resume. So I think just do it and be consistent. You're not going to see results overnight, but you will see results.
DJ?
Piggybacking right on to what Leah said, you just have to do it, even though it's uncomfortable. You are not going to become more comfortable doing it by doing more research. And yes, even though I said I watch videos and whatnot, until you do it and you just go through it, that's how you get comfortable with it. And you don't have to do it perfectly, and you don't have to have a huge budget. Everybody has their mobile phone that you can start there.
Did you just say mobile phone?
Mobile phone. Cell phone.
iPhone.
Instead of
Is it an age thing?
It's an age thing.
I'm not.
I love
I'm
you
old.
so much.
That's what we're all pointing out here, but not saying.
Mobile phone.
No, but everybody has a phone.
I'm still using an 8 millimeter.
BlackBerry.
No, truly, I mean, you're absolutely right. Having the video, making the choice, and we've said it, I think, a few times here. Not everybody's going to like what they look like. Not everybody's going to like what they sound like. And you all know me.
You said to me the first time, you're like, that I mentioned about how I didn't like how I looked or whatever. He's like, well, do something about it or get over yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really sugarcoated it.
We are our own worst critics.
Yes.
Hands down.
Yeah.
No one cares.
No, it's absolutely right.
But it got me going back to the gym.
Hey, the
Jason.
camera adds 10 pounds.
No, I don't really have anything additional to add. I mean, I just think you just have to take that first leap of faith and jump in. And as with anything, you just become more confident, more comfortable. And it's, the more you do, the more you do. I mean, it sort of becomes a rhythm and habit of life, which I don't do nearly as well as y'all do. But
I am to add one more thing too, and this is
The
like
final.
Yeah, the final. Wow. No, just because it's something that it was kind of stupid of me, but it didn't click at first. It's called social media for a reason, right? You're supposed to be social. And for the longest time, I was like putting out stuff, and people would comment and whatnot, and I'm not responding.
Engaging back, yeah.
Right? Like kiss of death. It's like it's rude,
No.
Again, it's an old age thing, but I realized, right? I was just thinking about it, I'm like, social media. Oh my God, I'm not even interacting with these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw an immediate turnaround as soon as I started, like, oh hey, thanks, or anything like that.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah, or engaging with your past clients too, commenting on their stuff,
Yes.
It's a whole other conversation.
Well, and
but-
what
That's
you
part
do
of not
so
making it
well.
all about
Yeah.
you again.
right,
Going
is
back
you're
to that.
celebrating their wins and their successes, and
'Cause it's
marking-
relationship, It's
It's
a relationship.
Yes, it's more than real estate. It's a relationship.
It is.
trademark. Jason.
Nice.
Trademark,
Nice
Jason
drop.
Wetherington. Yeah.
Well, thank you all very much for taking the time. I know it's been a long day for us, and we've got many things going, but I truly value each and every one of you, and look forward. We're going to do this again.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Cheers.